Hello, I'm Jody Wolfe, and you're watching Expoz December 19, 2019, and it is 5:19 p.m. Birmingham. I'm going to get these blogs done and then upload them, so you won't get this for a while, maybe an hour or so. On the last blog, I was thanking Donna for her input and her comments, and really, really nice woman, nice of her to do that. And I am praying, by the way, Donna, for your sister and for you and for your family. And you know what you're saying there, and I will go ahead and tell you the same thing happened to me, but it wasn't over Donald Trump. It was over the Jews. I was a policeman in Mountain Brook, Alabama, and there's a very large population of Jews that live in Mountain Brook, and I grew to love these people. They're very nice. They'll do anything in the world for you anytime. I mean, for example, I had a board after I left the police department. I stayed there in Mountain Brook, and I bought a business. I bought a service station, and my wife was 3 doors away. She owned the Crestline Beauty Shop, and she was there. She was there 30 years, and but what I'm getting at is the people showed me by their actions, and I learned most of this after I left the police department. And we had a football team, Alabama did, in Birmingham. I think they were called the Stallions or something like that. I don't remember. But Jerry Sklar was the president of that team. He was also a good customer of mine. And I also played golf every Tuesdays with a group of people. And about once a month, Jared come in and said, "Y'all ready to mix it up?" I said, "Yeah." And he'd just take a little pen and put his card on my board, and he'd look on the board. I had a board that if people come in and bought gas or got something and said, "Can I pay for it next time?" Absolutely. And I'd put their name up on the board, their ticket. And Jerry would look on the board and take down the tickets of anybody there that was a Jew, and he paid their bill, always. And all of them did that. They didn't ask, they just did it. But that little thing he left me would be a card for a round of golf at the Pine Tree Country Club, paid by him. And so, great people. I mean, not just by this, but by many. If there's a value system, they scored 100 across the board, in my opinion. Well, my best buddy, my partner, he just didn't like them. And after I left the department, he retired from the department, and then he went Deputy U.S. Marshal. And we're still buddies and going out, but he made some comments one day about them. And I said, "Charlie," I said, "Look, man, I can't go with you on this stuff. You blame everything that's happening on the Jews." I said, "They didn't do it." And so he and I, Donna, he and I are no longer friends. We don't speak. And but I will keep Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump, the top 2 men I most admire today, side by side. That's how much I love my president. That's how much I love the Prime Minister of Israel. These 2 men are the 2 men I'd most admire in my entire life right now. and I'll stand by them with all that I've got. And we will be okay. We will come out on top. We are just where God wants us to be. Coup attempt, bring them on. We will not let it happen. We have a Senate that's promised not to let it ever happen. And you can bank on that. This Senate cannot let it happen for any reason unless it's legit. Now, when Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, well, she was with a tribe, she's Jewish, and she's the Levite tribe. And he had to pay his dues to God for that. You know that, for what he did, what Bill Clinton did to her. He had to pay his dues to God. And if you go back and read, there's a little story about that, about his conversation with God about that, and what God was going to do. And God gave him a specific date, and that date it came to pass. So he paid his dues to God by what he did to Lewinsky of the Levite tribe. God is that close with his people. And today, since we are on the world stage as the world major power, we're as close to God today as the Jews are with God today. So your prayer goes a very long way, and it's heard, and it's delivered, and it is answered. And then there's another lady, Wendy, here that made a comment. She's upset, and she's thinking about this well-educated, Swiss-educated guy that now he wants to send some bombs over here and destroy this country. Well, you know what? Kim might, and we're talking about North Korea later, he might can ride a horse, he might can shoot a gun, but I guarantee he hadn't got a dozen eyes in the sky that can shoot anything down that we shoot up. They don't have one missile that can penetrate our airspace. We have eyes in the skies, and a lot more than most people think. Reagan started that, and it never stopped. So, Wendy, hang in there. And you said you keep thinking about Christmas and know that this wasn't really the day Christ was born. Well, I'm with you. I know Christ was not born on Christmas Day, but this is a day that I celebrate, not knowing his date, but Jesus, I celebrate this day that you were born, and this is your day. And that's as close as I can get, and I'm sure with you too. And then about Nimrod, that's a whole different story. People think that Nimrod is going to come back and be a AI, part man, part artificial intelligence, and perhaps be the Antichrist. I don't know. That is highly likely. It's very possible that it could be. But I believe when it says in the Bible that one of the world powers comes together and they're bound with clay and iron and they can't cleave to one another. You're talking about human and you're talking about AI. They can't bind. They're trying to do it. They're trying to make that happen today by going through all these things like CRISPR-Cas9 and trying to, well, they're trying to do the same things today that they did back when they first fell, when they first came down and mated with the daughters of men. They didn't just come down and took wives as they chose. They forced these women. They took all they wanted to take, and they raped them. They didn't just go down and go to their father and say, I'll give you 10 camel for this woman. No, they went down and took what they wanted. They were evil, extremely evil. And then after all this is wiped out, then who is it that starts trying to build the very same thing back up to restart it where it ended? And that was Nimrod. Because God said they can't achieve what they set out to do. So when man starts putting back together or attempting to put together man and machine, they'll do it, but it won't bind, it won't hold. It may last for a little while, but it's not going to work. They may have a man that they can make that's got blue eyes, 6'6", run 35 miles an hour, nonstop, carrying a 200-pound payload, get shot, and heal on the run. They might can do these things, but it's not going to last, because the AI, which is the iron, and the clay, which is man, they can't stay together. They'll eventually just not hold, and they'll fall apart. So this will be a short run, a short attempt made by Satan to do. It's his last shot in the dark, and he'll fail miserably at it. And this is when you have the midway through the tribulation, the 7 years, when the false prophet will step into the temple, desecrate the temple, demand the people to worship him as God. That's when their eyes will be opened, boom, immediately, the Jews. And that's when God's aha moment hits them. Get out of that house. Run if you're in the field. Drop what you're doing. Don't pick up anything. Run. And he tells them where to run to. 2/3 will be cut off. But I promise you, in my opinion, I believe this with all my heart, the 2/3 that are cut off will all call on the name of the Lord at that moment and then die. But those that make it to Petra will be kept there in safety and protected by God's angels. Nothing will get in to hurt them. So let Kim come over and start some stuff. He can't hurt us. Just can't. And they're building Babylon back in Iraq, and I mean, really building it back. And they think that they want to get Nimrod in here and get him involved. Well, that's a possibility. I don't know. But AI is going to be part of man for a while, but it will not cleave. It will not stay. It'll just be for a little while. We win. We have already won. Claim it now. We win. We have Trump. He will be elected a second term. Depending on where the time scale is, we may go the very day he is sworn in, or a week later. Now, there's some people that say, well, when the rapture of the church occurs, there may be a 20-year lag. Well, there might be. Only God can do that. Because it's going to take time to build all these things up, to unleash unto man, and just try to destroy man completely. but they will fail miserably. Wendy, thank you. I appreciate that. And Donna, I appreciate that. And my wife, being a beautician, every time a new hairdo would come out, like Farrah Fawcett, my wife would try it on her first and wear it first until she would get somebody else that wanted the same hair, and she would do them. And when Bo Derek played the movie 10, my wife was the first one in our town to have that haircut. I wish I had gotten that picture out and showed you. We were in Switzerland, and she was in a wine cellar picking out a bottle of wine and wearing that haircut. And I'm telling you, it's a shot that they hung on the wall there in that castle there in Switzerland, in Luzerne, I think, or Cern. And but anyway, she was a beautiful woman, and I loved her dearly. Still miss her after all these years. But we're okay. We're okay. There'll be multiple attempts for a coup, and they will succeed after we leave. And then just let them have fun. Whatever they want to do, let them have fun, because then they will have to sleep in that bed they made, and they're not going to like it. Jody, Wolfe, Expoz.